What was the moment when you realized, oh shit, I might get to 1 million?
1 million took a while, actually. I saw people go from like 50,000 to 2 million followers in like a month. If you want what you say you want the followers, you want the influence, whatever, you need to commit to it. It's easier now than it's ever been to grow.
How much is different between a brand wanting to grow its audience and an individual wanting to grow an audience?
It's easier to do it for an individual. Almost pretend you have a brand deal and you know, make a video around something, because it'll probably lead to other brands coming to you to pay you. You need to think about building a following on social.
Everybody's becoming their own little influencers. They're doing the same thing.
Think about everybody goes home when they're tired and they scroll. AI is definitely going to change a lot about, you know, the amount of content that's just out there, and there's a lot more noise to cut through.
From today moving forward to 5 years, what's like a change or a trend people should be expecting?
I would say the biggest things that are going to change in the next 5 years are
Welcome to True Experts, where we uncover the stories and marketing insights of exceptional professionals. I'm your host, Justin True, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by Jack DOLAN, better known by some as Nameless James. I did not memorize Jack's impressive interview, so we'll be definitely reading this off of a little pad here. Jack is a dynamic content creator and consultant who has made waves in the digital space, amassing over 1 million followers on TikTok with his innovative lip-syncing comedy skits and creative storytelling have amassed him over 300 million views across all platforms last year. Beyond his success as a creator, Jack is the founder of Nameless Media, where he works with clients to craft engaging content strategies that captivate audiences and build communities. Today, we'll dive into Jack's creative journey, his rise as a digital storyteller, and his expertise in helping others navigate and evolving the landscape. Plus, we'll explore his unique perspectives on marketing and how it has shaped his career. Welcome to the show, Jack.
Justin, thanks for having me. That was A+ intro. I feel like a star right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks
for having me.
Absolutely. Having you here today on our very first show is kind of special. Jack and I met over 3 years ago. I was actually one of Jack's clients. Jack was I was at a brand. It was a brand that was doing some pretty big, pretty heavy lifting stuff. And we were going down the influencer strategy path. And I needed somebody who knew what the hell they were doing. And it was actually through my significant other, through my girlfriend. She introduced me to Jack. She had worked with him through her company. And Jack and I hit it off really well. We worked together for about a year. And then that was a few years ago. We've kind of been in some aspects, like kind of joined at the hip every week.
Yeah, pretty much.
One, I was Jack's client years ago. Two, on my journey with my business, Jack has been here every week helping me with my content strategy and my development and working, just kind of being there for me every week to, like, as I go through this and develop it. So having him here today on our first episode, which he was a large part of helping pull the vision together and the logistics together and the inspiration and the energy to like say, let's just do this, is super cool. So thanks for being here. Excited to hear from you.
Yeah. I mean, I also just appreciate meeting every week. And I think we just hit it off when we were working together on like a, professional basis. And then that was at kind of the crux of your, I'm going to do this stuff on my own. And, since then I can't believe it's been 3 years. It's like,
I know.
Flies. Yeah,
totally. Cool. Well, let's get to business. We're going to run through like your journey, some of your thoughts, tactics, strategy on engagement, your perspective on trends, some advice, and then we'll wrap it up on some future looking stuff. So let's kick it off. Give me how did it start? What was the moment when you became a content creator, whether you knew that moment or not? What was it?
Yeah, well, I always say that I became a content creator first prior to all this video stuff on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and when I started writing. So the first company I worked at out of college, we would ghostwrite articles for founders, and we had sort of a complimentary like LinkedIn strategy from these articles that we'd author for people. And I would do a bunch of writing on my own, just talking about content marketing and why a lot of thought leadership, like why thought leadership was important, personal branding, and why we made it a point to help people author their own articles versus like a third party feature about them, just like more personal, humanizes them. So I would write a lot about that because it would help me in like the sales process. And I actually started kind of building a following as a writer in that way. And I didn't really realize I was like in the content game yet. But that was sort of like my first like content creator life without really recognizing that that's what it was. But I realized like a lot of the principles that I've learned about content marketing and personal branding are rooted in that.
Totally. I mean, when you look at like CEOs that are becoming influencers and you look at people on TikTok that went from, 20 to 20,000 overnight, those core principles of how they build those audiences are basically the same.
Yeah. And it's crazy to see how like compared to 2017, 2018, how many more CEOs or founders, especially of like smaller and medium sized businesses, are now like front facing. And there's a lot of, personality behind a lot of these companies now. And I feel like a lot of these companies probably rely on it now. They know that it's a way to build relationships with their customers and their clients and community. So, from the writing thing, I got into the content game that I'm in now of short form video content on platforms like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, through really just like getting let go during COVID. I was at a different agency. This was after the writing agency. COVID hit. Everyone was sort of on TikTok at the time. I didn't have an account. And, with this new free schedule of mine and and a lot of boredom, I just figured why not try to get on it. And my initial thought was like, I don't want to try to. It was never like a plan to become like a big content creator or like influencer, so to speak. But it was more like, let me just exercise this skill of content marketing and just see if I can like get on this platform that I know nothing about and get in front of people. Just try it. Like I'm going to try once a day, maybe twice a day. And
were you doing like intentionally trying to do funny stuff or interesting stuff?
Well, it started with like, I'm going to make the account, and I got on and I'm like scrolling and I was like, okay, all I'm seeing are people dancing.
Oh yeah.
People like lip syncing like sound bites from movies or TV shows and like putting their own text on screen as like a meme and, making it about whatever they want it to be about. And I figured I can't dance. So I'm going to kind of do this other main type of content that I'm seeing on this platform. And that was like the best thing I could have started doing, was basically picking the type of content that I saw that I thought I could do or do better. And then telling myself, I want to do this once a day or maybe twice a day. Also, again, I had all the time in the world, with it being quarantine, and it was just such a perfect time because so many people were just getting on TikTok and they didn't know who to follow. Which this is like something in hindsight, I was looking back and I'm sure we'll get to this later, but like it changed so much from then. At that time, like if you had a video do decently well, you got a pretty big influx of followers just because the platform was new and there were so many new people to it. Obviously TikTok had been around, but like 2020 is when everybody got on it,
Yeah.
So, just started doing that. I would start with like, it was really like a creative outlet. So I would try to just be goofy. And that was really the purpose behind the content. It was like, let's find a soundbite, something that's like trending, something I saw someone else do, create my own version that's, relatable and funny, post it. And then I'm off the platform for the day. And that's it. So that was my goal.
Was it pretty early that you started to see traction happening?
Yeah, it was pretty quick. It was like within, I want to say like 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, I had like 10,000 followers. Wow. I had like one video do decently well. I will never forget. It was like my first viral-ish video. And I think that was like 10 days into creating content. And someone had taken the song, Do You Want to Build a Snowman from the movie Frozen, which not really a fan of Frozen. Big fan of the animated movies still. But Frozen didn't really do it for me. Anyway, someone had made like a parody that was like, instead of do you want to build a snowman, it was like, do you want to start drinking? Because everyone during COVID, like, would just start drinking at noon or 1 o'clock or whatever, because there's nothing else to do. We're locked inside. So I remember my buddy, my roommate at the time, I was goofing around. He was working from home. He was kind of in an essential business, so he still had to like focus on his work, but like, he just kind of helped me make a video. We made it really, really funny. And I lip synced that song, like credited the original creator, put my phone down. And like, I think, I checked my phone like 4 or 5 hours later and it had like, the video had like 40 or 50,000 views. And I was like, oh shit. Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah. I was like, wow, TikTok. Cause like from what I had known to that point, like, video-based platforms, like it was really YouTube that was like the authority. And YouTube, you can just like start a channel and post a video and get a bunch of views. I mean, like very rarely could you do that.
Right. It was much more of a compounding long-term.
Totally.
Like you're gonna build this thing over time.
Yeah, and very much so kind of still is. Like you could still. You could, now it's a lot easier to build than ever on YouTube because they want to compete with their shorts, feature. But, at that time, like I, along with, I'm sure a lot of other people didn't really realize the power of TikTok's, setup. Like I didn't understand that the platform really had nothing to do with like your followers in a way. And it was really just like, if you can make it on the For You page, the FYP, like their algorithm was meant to, the second they see something doing well, it gets pushed to everyone.
Yeah.
So it's like no discrimination around like what you're doing or whatever. As long as people are engaging with it, like it's going to get pushed to more and more people automatically, unlike any other platform ever before. So that was awesome because, and again, it was something that I didn't really pick up on until like a little bit later. But was telling myself I'm going to post once or twice a day. And, from doing that, it was like every couple weeks I'd have a video do like decently well and kept slowly building. And I think, within my first 90 days or 100 days, I had 100,000 followers. And then, like, by the end of summer, I think 2020, I want to say, is when Instagram launched their Reels, kind of like the competitor to TikTok. And so I waited like a month longer than I should have, but I, created a profile for my, from my TikTok profile, same username, Nameless James, and, started to try to migrate audiences over there, did sort of the same thing, like just posted once a day and, that built as well. So yeah, it was pretty quick. It was, but it was also a timing thing. It was very much a timing. And I think a lot of people realize that like it's very different now. You can't really expect the same influx of following from a viral video or just a high performing video even. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. There comes times when platforms or technologies innovate and there's this like window of early adopter zone that can supercharge you. Like when Clay came out, right? We've talked about Clay. When Clay came out, it was kind of like overnight cold emails like evolved really fast. Like the personalization, the targeting, the things that somebody could craft and really customize the message to me, like changed overnight. And it lasted for a little while, but then the more people started using Clay, the more all these emails started to get personalized at that hyper intense scale, the more now all emails look the same. So yeah, same with the social channel. There's these windows when you can hop on and ride it like a rocket ship.
Yep.
So you got to 100,000. I mean, I imagine that every day even if you're not like necessarily pushing and trying to grow a channel, like every day, every week, every month, you're going to get one new follower. So as long as you're going up, you're theoretically on your way to a larger number. But
yeah,
in the game that you were playing, what was the moment when you realized, oh shit, I might get to 1 million? What was that moment like?
Yeah, so 1 million took a while, actually. And I think, I should say that'd probably like offend a lot of creators who, spent years and years building up to 1 million on like YouTube and other platforms. It took a while for TikTok. And I think compared to other creators that I saw, skyrocket to those big numbers, for me, I didn't hit 1 million followers till the start of 2024. So it took me a little while, but I remember it was all of 2020. I think I ended 2020 around like 160,000 followers. But I do remember that there was the first potential TikTok ban, I think in the fall of 2020. And that's when I started trying to migrate over to Instagram a little bit, just in case, it really was banned. And I don't know if anything changed with the algorithm on TikTok or whatever, but I struggled for a little while. I definitely hit like a growth slump for probably a good 6 months. It was probably like September, October of 2020 to February 2021. I remember I was like super stagnant. Like videos were just not performing as well. Like I didn't really know what to do. I kind of was like, all right, well, I wonder if this, little run is over. COVID is kind of like calming down. So like maybe it's time to apply for jobs again. I was doing that. I didn't give up in any way. And I told myself I'm going to keep creating like a video a day and just stick through it, maybe make 2 videos and tried to like, detach a little bit from like the stuff that had worked for me because I kept trying that and it wasn't working then. And then I remember 2021, I posted a video and it was my best performing video at that point in time. And it's still one of my better performing videos on TikTok. It was very simple. It was rooted in like music and humor, which a lot of my content is. And I remember I posted it on like a Saturday morning, and by like later that day, I had hit like 1 million views. And over the course of like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, I went up like, I want to say like 150,000 followers. So it was a big jump, big jump. And it also kind of opened this door of like, oh, people like this type of content, and like I need to interject my personality a little bit more, because it was a video that I was not lip syncing. And I was actually talking in the video and very briefly, but still it was sort of like a different style of content. I think the video ended up doing like 8 million views or something over, 2 weeks or so. Before it sort of plateaued. And, that sort of like re-sparked the, excitement.
Did that style where you were showing your personality a little bit more, did you then start to do more stuff like that?
You know what? I didn't have the wherewithal to like, I did a little bit, but I didn't like laser in on it like I maybe should have. And I say that because there were some creators I would see that would have a viral video and they would like literally either shot for shot, like create the exact same video, or they would literally repost the same exact video that they posted like every day and for like a week. And they would jump like I saw people go from like 50,000 to 2 million followers in like a month by doing that.
By just posting the same video over and over again?
Same video over and over again.
Huh.
It was crazy. And I was like a little bit, and there's other creators that I had become friends with throughout 2020. And, just kind of these virtual like friends that we would talk and we'd be like, what are we seeing with the algorithm? What's working for you? Because we were all at this point of like, in our lives and careers, like we didn't know what the fuck was going on with the world. I think a lot of people had lost their jobs and stuff. So I remember we communicate and there was like a subset of creators that would like do that strategy. And then another set like that I was kind of a part of like, nah, that's the cheap way to do it. Like, that's not, but that was kind of a closed off mindset a little bit. Like I should have not. No. And I not really like, so what I started to do more was like, eventually I started to like, okay, I do need to like have a style or a series. Like TikTok is, you'll see a lot of creators have different series where they talk about a certain type of thing, or they do a certain type of video over and over again. I started doing series a little bit more that were based in like the content that really worked for me, but I didn't really even like fully embrace that until like August, September of 2021. So it was like almost a whole, year. Now I'd say 10 months after like that big spike from February 2021 that I was like, okay, I need to actually like commit to doing this type of video a few times a week because it's going to help. And it did. Like it helped. So I wish I would have done that earlier because I feel like I would have got an influx of more followers. Now, would that have necessarily like helped me in any way? I don't know. Like maybe I would have grown a lot faster, but maybe my engagement wouldn't have been as high because more people would have gotten sick of it and stopped engaging with my content. Who knows? It's all like hindsight's always 2020, but yeah, I mean, it was an interesting thing. I think the moment I knew I could like do it full time and maybe start consulting others was, when I started to get some brand deals through TikTok.
That was my next question. So like in the evolution, tell us how, like, if you can, some of the big names you've worked with, because you've worked with like, a lot, and maybe give us a really quick brief, like which one was your favorite and why and what'd you do?
Yeah. So I'll just start from like when they started and then kind of get into the bigger ones. The first one I like officially got was end of 2020. And I also think that brands really didn't have any idea about
what to do and how to do it.
There really wasn't many brand deals. Like even really big creators, like the biggest creators on the platform were just starting to, do brand deals. I think at like the second half of 2020. I remember I got paid $100 to make a video for Brewmate. Shout out Brewmate. Brewmate was and is a company that they basically make like thermoses in all different shapes. So they have like wine ones that you can like, they have like an actual wine bottle one. They have coffee ones, but they also double as koozies. So it's like a tin that's like a koozie. So it really like they have a shape for like seltzers and shape for like beer cans. So like you could use it for your coffee or you could put your beer right in it, keeps it cold. They paid me $100 to make a video. I was super pumped. They sent me a ton of roommates. something else in hindsight, I didn't really realize like posting that, doing that deal with them definitely led to me doing more deals because other people saw that I was doing deals, right? So that was something that hit me later too. It's like, and this is, you know, more advice for creators is like, almost pretend you have a brand deal and you know, make a video around something, because it'll probably lead to other brands coming to you to pay you, because they have no idea if, you know, a brand
They're open
paid
for
you.
business. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's, you know, obviously there's disclaimers. You know, you might have to say you're partnering with a brand or whatever, but a lot of times you can just sort of like talk about a product and it's like organically mentioning it, and brands pay people to do that. But anyway, it was like end of 2020 when it first started. 2021, there was a few like, you know, mobile gaming type of brand deals and stuff that I'd gotten. But I started to get like bigger ones. Like I got a brand deal with like Wendy's. I got a brand deal with Doritos. I've got, you know, that was like sort of the first couple like bigger ones that I started to get. And then it was really like 2022 that it just like the doors blew off the hinges with deals. And that was like my biggest year in terms of being a creator, with like the amount of brand deals and like money that came in from deals and things like that. I think partially that was because 2020 and 2021 brands were not really paying people because of the state of the world. So it was like a really good timing thing to have a good big following. I think I probably had like 500,000 followers on TikTok at that time. Probably had, you know, 100 to 150,000 on Instagram at that time. 2022, I worked with, a bunch of other fast food places like KFC. I worked with Pepsi. I did like a commercial for Pure Leaf Tea. I did this like mini series on TikTok for AT&T that was like an in-person production shoot. Worked with Taco Bell, with Budweiser, with High Noon, with with Merrill, with Pair of Thieves, like the underwear, Liquid IV a few times. Shout out Liquid IV. They gave me, you know, a ton of love early on.
They were sending you to Coachella too, weren't they?
Yeah. So Liquid IV was like sort of an exchange for tickets type of deal for Coachella, which was really cool for me because like I had never been. Bella always hyped it up, and I was like, let's do it. But then what was great was I met those reps, and then after Coachella's 2 weekends, and then a week after, like the last weekend of April, there's a Stagecoach, which is like in the same area, and it's a country festival. And because I went to the Coachella weekend, I met those reps. They kind of just were like, oh, hey, wait, are you going to be around Stagecoach? Like we might have a paid deal for you then. And they did, and it was great. So we went back out there for that and got a paid deal, and it was awesome. I would say the biggest and most fun and awesomest freaking deal I've done to date, and it's going to be hard to pass it up, was working with Major League Baseball. I was contracted by the MLB for a full season, along with 8 other creators as like a starting lineup. And we were contracted to make content every month that was baseball adjacent. So it didn't need to be about baseball. And they were kind of specifically looking for non-baseball creators and non-sports creators. I think there was a few, but
trying to broaden their target market, I assume, or their audience.
Yeah, and that was really interesting because we went to the headquarters in New York when it started, and they were talking about how 2017 or 2018, they had their lowest ratings ever. They really hadn't climbed up much since then. And they had started to, like, I think 2020, 2021, a little bit more with like really like rules in baseball. They changed the pitch clock timing to make the game a little faster. But it was cool because we sat in their headquarters and we talked to their new CMO. We talked to their whole marketing team. They were like, this is our plan, but we want to know your guys' thoughts. And, you know, we kind of conceptualized what every individual creator was going to sort of focus on for the season. So what I did, because I was like always humor and kind of music related was I said, like, you know, baseball players have a walk-up song when they go to the plate, you know, plays behind them to kind of pump them up.
Oh, yeah. I remember you doing this. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say like here'd be my walk-up song if I was on, you know, this team. And I would usually pick like an artist from that city because I knew it'd like resonate well with the fans. So if I did like the, you know, Miami Marlins, it was like some, you know, like Puerto Rican or Dominican, like, you know, banger. And the whole fan base was like, yeah, this is totally a Miami Marlins track, like whatever. Like Chicago, I would do like a Kanye song or Chief Keef or something that like really pumped people up, like, you know, Chicago local artists. So that series did well for me. Working with MLB, I got a brand deal with Taco Bell through them, which was really cool. I got a brand deal with like Bleacher Report, which that was really fun. I got to go to the home run derby, and I was like in the stands competing against another creator to get home run balls. And we were like mic'd up and being like followed around with cameras. So that was super fun. And then, yeah, we ended up going to like the Field of Dreams game, which they don't even do anymore. We went to 2 World Series games. We went to, the All-Star game, the home run derby. And like, it was just like it was awesome. Like I grew up playing baseball. I played in high school. It was just the coolest thing ever. So shout out MLB for that opportunity. Shout out, freaking, yeah, like the creators that were in that class. It was, it was like sorry, this is a little long winded, but that was my moment of like, I'm officially like a legitimate creator. It was like 2 years into doing it was where I like mentally accepted it, because, you know, leading up to it, like, even though I had built a following and had worked with some brands, like I didn't really treat it as like I'm a influencer, content creator, and didn't really like that kind of, you know, title anyway. Yeah. Like, I'm like, I don't want to be like, you know, out here like updating people on my day to day and all this shit. Like, I just don't need to do that. Like, you know, and, you know, Bella really pushed me to like own it more, and you know, some family and friends did the same. So, it was really that 2022 where it was like a big change, and I knew that I could do this full time. And yeah,
that sounds like, it sounds like that pinnacle moment when you became an expert, a true expert in being a content creator, influencer. And I remember when we started working together years ago, going down, you were helping me figure out using creators and influencers for a brand and how to navigate brand deals from the brand side and negotiations and planning and all the whole 9 yards. But that was, I think, really when I first started thinking of the word content creator versus influencer. You know, like it was just in somebody who's not in that world or not that person, I just labeled everybody as an influencer, whether they had 1 million or 2 followers. And there was this gradient of judgment, you know, like if you saw an influencer that had 1,000 followers, you were like, well, they're just like a wannabe influencer. But then there's a certain point where it's like, oh, they're no longer a wannabe influencer. They are an influencer. But then when I started being on the brand side, which is where you came in, I was like, oh, wow, if you shift that title over to content creator, it starts to mean a lot more things, and there's a lot more buckets you can play in. And so let's take it from there. You got to the MLB. That was your biggest peak to that point. You're high, and you're an expert now. And when you're an expert, you can start to teach. So what was that transition into helping people like me and all the other clients you've had over the years?
Yeah. So it was like slowly kind of on the back burner through 2021. I think that I was telling myself like I could advise people to do this. And it really was like friends. But it was, again, rooted in that writing background where it was like, this is pretty much what we did for founders and C-level executives just from a writing perspective. And we'd mainly post on, you know, LinkedIn. and we would, try to get their articles published in major publications. But it was the same thing. It was us just saying, well, you have a story to share and you have a target audience and you have, a reason, whether it's like you're raising funding rounds or you're just trying to get new clients. Like there's content, there's an approach to it. There's kind of like a purpose behind it. And, I had been working with some others to still do a little bit of ghostwriting in the background through all of this, like through 2020 and 2021. So it was kind of like with some of those people, we started saying like, hey, if you need help with Instagram or TikTok, happy to chat about, what I do and just sort of the philosophy around posting and, more so like what it takes on each platform, like the time commitment, the expectation, the volume of posts if you want to succeed, those types of things. And then we met like 2022, it was really when I was still in the works of like signing anything with MLB. But I remember just kind of to your point a few minutes ago, there was this need I started to see this need in the start of 2022 where there was brands that did not have anyone in-house to make content for their Instagram or their TikTok, just like the company you were at. And you being the CMO had a bunch of things outside of social that you had to focus on in a marketing perspective. So Bethany connected us, or we got connected, and you were basically like, if we're running Instagram, like, what are your thoughts? What do we do? What's the best way, what's the volume expectation? How often do we need to post? Like, if we don't have anyone in house, how do we get content for our pages? And I know that I remember we set up the relationship where I sort of strategize around, a reasonable amount of like pieces of content per week. I focused on providing the video content for you guys, because I think you guys had some people that could do like the graphic static posts. And then we determined like a budget to, outsource to creators to make content for your channels without them really promoting your business or product, the business you're working on or product on their channels. It was just like to populate your account. And that was like the gap that I had seen then. It was like a lot of these brands don't know what to pay creators. They don't know how to strategize around the type of content for, their company, and they needed that help. So it was,
from the perspective of me being your client at the time, it was this crazy awesomeness of, I was the CMO and was kind of an expert in a lot of the functions and facets of marketing. And if I wasn't, I had experts working with me or underneath me that were. We had a lot of the pieces of that department like cruising and crushing, but I had never really dabbled in the influencer space. And when I caught wind of who you are and what you do, I remember our first call. I think I was pacing around right in this area, and I was just like, I need somebody to hold my hand and help me go through this. And you were like, hell yeah. We had a killer internal organic social media plan, and our designer was awesome, and our copywriter was amazing, and the brand was really solid from an organic perspective. And you were like, oh, let's do this and this and this. And I was like, holy shit, I didn't realize I could go find content creators on the lower end of the spectrum and pay them $100 to make a 30-second video and just do that all day long. Most of them wouldn't even post it to their account, but it would get posted on our account, on our Reels side. And it was like, wow, this whole new world that really wasn't even that expensive. And you helped negotiate a lot of those deals, get the contracts made, like really manage that external UGC. Again, this is the first time I had learned like, what is UGC? It was such a great view into this world that I really knew nothing about, and having somebody there who was an expert to literally hold my hand and walk me through it. It was dope.
Yeah, it was really fun to do. And I still try to do a bit of that, but now doing a lot more like focusing on personal branding and individuals who want to grow their following. The UGC stuff's really fun still. I think that a lot of brands now, especially bigger brands though, they have someone sort of internally to, do these things. There's obviously brands that don't, but it's that was a fun, interesting time, and it's sort of evolved from then to more so being like this personal brand therapist now, where it's like, helping individuals a lot more build their thought leadership and their following through coaching and that
Nice.
sort of thing.
Going down that path of now like really working for I guess personalities or individuals more so than brands. How much is different between a brand wanting to grow its audience and an individual wanting to grow an audience? Like what's like a thing that's different and what's a thing that's like dead spot on identical?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's harder to think of something that's identical. I'd say the difference is it's easier to do it for an individual because there seems to be a lot more restrictions that, when people are thinking about their brand or their company page, they don't want to go too far into, they don't want to lead too far into humor. They don't want to lean too far into creating like a series or like a podcast if they don't have the capacity, if they can't keep it up. A lot of times they want to stay informative and educational. And a lot of times it's like product or service focused. And it's very hard to get people out of that mindset for their company pages. They just typically don't want to do, anything that's
like humanizing almost.
Yeah, not there are obviously a lot of exceptions, but it's a lot easier to do it when you have an individual who has a skill or a talent or an expertise, and they're willing and open and ready to make content and build a following on a platform like Instagram or TikTok. Mm-hmm. It's much easier. It's like, okay, then let's just why are you trying to build? Is it to get clients? Is it to sell a course? Is it, what is it? And then, okay, what's your expertise? Okay, then how do we pull out those, insights that you've learned from experience, again, much like I did when I was writing for people, and, put those things out on the internet so people see you as an authority in the space and people see you as adding value.
Totally. Do you see like that all makes total sense. Do you see, or do you think that that's why we're now starting to see like lots of CEOs and founders like starting to talk about themselves?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think becoming the face, the voice of their brand, because if they get followed, then like their brand theoretically gets followed.
Yeah, 100%. I think that it started prior to TikTok and all of this, and the kind of perfect storm was like brewing, and the people that were doing it on the writing side were the people that were doing it from, like prior to these platforms being, so video focused, kind of like understood that, and they understood, there was thought leaders or whatever on LinkedIn already. There were people posting like video content and stuff. But it really, changed once, TikTok made it so easy to get in front of people. I think so many saw that they could just, I could really like put my personality and like talk about my expertise. And then you would see like C-level people doing that on a company account. And some of them would be quirky or like funny without trying. And then, with TikTok, like people would just love it and like flock to those people. And then they became mega fans of the brand because the person, behind it was just funny or quirky or weird or whatever. And they made good content. And if you think about it, it's like, who do you follow on TikTok or Instagram? Like 90% of the accounts are probably people. So it was kind of like, I think a lot of people started to understand that. And that's what I try to like tell people now is like, you need to think about building a following on social. Like, think about behaviors. Like, what do you do when you go home? You could be a spine surgeon or whatever, but let's say you have TikTok and Instagram and you're active on those platforms. Like, you're probably following a bunch of people, you're following creators, you're following random accounts, you're following your favorite athlete, you're following a lot of personalities, and then you might end up finding something that's like really beneficial to you and your business or whatever you do by following a person rather than like following companies in the space, you know? So it's sort of like educating on that side of things. Like, who are you more willing to, like, what type of account are you more likely to follow? And like, think about, everybody goes home when they're tired and they scroll. So if you think about it like that, it's like, yeah, how does the founder creating their own profile and talking about, you know, something sort of unrelated to their business, how does that help them get more business? Like, it's not really super measurable in like the traditional way, but there is more than a correlation between those people putting themselves out there more and then eventually some of those followers being like, oh, I have the perfect client for you, or I'm the perfect client for you, or I want to buy your product or service, or whatever it is. So I think like nowadays, like especially now in 2025, people know that. Now a lot of people are like, fuck, how do we make this happen? How do I get, you know, how do we do this for our company and our founders? And so really just trying to, you know, now I feel like it's my purpose to set expectations with people and help people understand that like, this isn't like a side thing anymore. Like, social media and stuff is not, like, you can make it your breadwinner, so to speak, if you do it the right way.
Yeah.
But you really need to treat it like if you want what you say you want the followers, you want the influence, whatever, you need to commit to it like a job. And there's ways to simplify it to keep volume up by like getting like stretching content. Example, like if you have really no time, but you could film an hour-long podcast and pull a bunch of clips from it and then repurpose the transcript to written LinkedIn posts and then a blog, like a 800-word blog post, like that 1 hour stretches. Someone's got to do it. You probably find someone that could do it, you know, for cheap. But, you know, you really need to commit. You need to commit your time and your resources and take it seriously and not just be like, we're going to post something and then ask why it's not doing well and then think, okay, this is a waste of time, you know?
Yeah, totally. I'm drawing some connections here. Like, you know, you were or are, but like you were an influencer and you are like part of this small group. And then backtrack your mind there a couple of years, like you were part of this small group of people that were influencers, right? Now we're going over to the total end of the timeline on the spectrum to now when, like, if you want to have an audience, you have to make content and you have to put content out, which is the same thing that influencers do, right? And so you're literally telling people, you're telling me, and again, we've hit this a couple times now on today's podcast, is you've got to put the time in to, one, like have a message, be able to articulate the message, which yes, everybody, we are still working on making sure I can figure out how to do that. But like everybody's becoming their own little influencers. They're doing the same thing. So now you're spending most of your time in the zone of advising through nameless media, advising people who want to amplify and broadcast their voice, their message, their brand, whatever it is, for whatever reason they might want to. In theory, a lot of those reasons they want to are probably similar. But so tell me, like 5 years to now, what in that context, talking to people that are trying to grow their brand in the past 5 years, what has been like the biggest change you've seen? And then from today moving forward to 5 years, what's like a change or a trend that you think is people should be expecting?
Yeah, great question. I think what's changed from then to now is a little bit more platform specific. Like you think about TikTok, like what changed from 2020 to now is kind of what we touched on earlier, where in 2020 or 2021, you could post a video, and if it did pretty well, you got a huge influx of followers, which, you know, you could then, you know, use that information to kind of lead strategy. Now it's different. It's a lot harder to build on TikTok than it was. It's still probably the easiest platform to build. But still, it's much, much harder to earn those followers. On the other hand, you got a platform like YouTube, where historically it was the hardest platform to grow on, and still probably is in most regards, but it's easier now than it's ever been to grow on YouTube, because they've competed with TikTok with their shorts feature, which, you know, it's kind of a similar algorithm where it gets you in front of people without really kind of like siloing you into like whatever niche or content bucket that you, you know, are typically in. So I would say the changes are those things. I would say like once a day at a minimum for a video post, like an in-feed post on any of those platforms is pretty necessary. And it's tough, which is why, you know, sometimes it's good to just pick one platform, having a strategy on every specific platform, because that takes a lot of time, effort, planning. But saying we're going to use one platform to lead the strategy, we're going to have fun on these other platforms and repost our content on these other platforms, but we're not going to, you know, focus on a specific strategy for that, because we don't have the time, resources, and energy right now. Maybe one day. If you look at big brands that do, they have different strategies on those different platforms because they understand that. I would say the biggest things that are going to change in the next 5 years are probably two things. One, AI is going to make it so there's the volume thing is going to go up a lot more. There's a lot. And on top of AI and increasing like the, you know, the amount of stuff you could put out, like the amount of people now that are creating content, there's a lot more people out there. Doesn't mean it makes it like harder for you, because you still have your individual personality, and you could have 100 people doing the exact same thing. They're going to do it different ways because their personalities are different. So you could still find plenty of followers, even if you know, think it's oversaturated. However, AI is definitely going to change a lot about, you know, the amount of content that's just out there, and there's a lot more noise to cut through. You know, and AI will also help people, like it's been helping people create outlines and prompts and to repurpose content. You know, that has made it a lot easier for people. You know, I'm sure a lot of people do this right now, but like, you know, we post YouTube videos for clients, and I mean, we take the transcript and we give it to custom GPT that we've created to make, you know, give us potential title options and description options for, you know, based off of the transcript, and obviously like teach this GPT like the tone of voice and things of the client and the subject matter and stuff. So I think AI is going to be a big difference maker. And then the other thing on social in the next 5 years, which we're starting to see a lot in like Asian countries, which it always comes over here, is the live streaming. Live streaming's been a huge thing. It's been a huge thing here even, but it's like bigger there, and it's coming, you know, because it can't get much more immediate than live streaming. And, you know, if you hear people like, you know, whatever you think of Gary Vee, like he's been dead on that. You know, he said 10 years ago, 15 years ago that like live selling is going to be a big thing. It's huge now. Like you go on TikTok and this is, it's the tip of the iceberg. Like there's a lot more, but you go on TikTok now and you see people on live selling stuff right there.
I have some friends who are, and to myself an extent, very much into like crystals and like rocks and stuff.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They're showing me all the stuff over time, over the past year and a half. and I see them on their phones just like glued, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And they're on these live sales.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically like an auction, and I'm fascinated by basically everything. And so I am like, all right, give me the name of this account you're looking at. I go spend like 3 hours online finding the top like 20 accounts in this like micro niche, or it's probably not even micro. I want to understand the industry, and I started following all these accounts. I started analyzing them. I even started recording some of these live sales so that I could have AI analyze the transcripts to understand their volume and their prices. Oh my God. There's like, if you want to, there's like 30 simultaneous live sales of this product going on at any given time. And
no doubt.
The only one I've ever seen or like actually paid attention to was these crystals and minerals and these rocks that are for sale. I can only imagine that it happens. Actually, Bethany, I don't know, once a month or every other month, like something will show up in the mailbox and I'll be like, what the hell is this? It's like a pickle making kit. And I'm like, where'd you get it? She was like, it was a live sale on TikTok.
It is funny because the products, I feel like, especially on TikTok live sales, are just so random. Like people have the hot dog toaster where it's like specifically made for your hot dogs and the buns.
I actually want that. Thank you.
Yeah, that thing is kind of cool. But yeah, I think that's where it's going. I think, it's going to be a lot more live. And something that I feel like not a lot of people are talking about is in this vein is like, you've obviously seen, and a lot of people have obviously seen platforms like Twitch or Kick that are live stream based. You subscribe to creators, they go live, they're live like all day long, and that's their career. I don't really do this. I should probably do this. But it's a whole other thing. Like it's a whole other beast that to like make that your thing. But what I was going to say is, I feel like no one's really talking about the fact that the biggest live streamer in America, Kai Cenat, doesn't even have, I don't even think he has 1 million Twitch subscribers, which is super, super fascinating to me, because how can you have a platform and someone with he's got crazy influence. Like he's everywhere now. He's in commercials playing in these NFL playoff games. He's with every major, celebrity, and not that that's like a qualifier, but you know what I mean? It's like, he's an absolute star right now. And he doesn't even have 1 million. He's the most followed person on Twitch without even having 1 million followers. So it's to me, it says the future is going to be, I'm sure there's going to be like free versions of live, like Twitch and stuff where you don't have to subscribe to creators and stuff. But like eventually, those platforms these people are going to have hundreds of millions of followers, and they've been able to get these audiences to their other platforms. But shit, him and like iShowSpeed, like these younger guys, they're absolutely crushing it, and they've figured it out. And it's fascinating to me that the following is like comparatively to these other platforms so much smaller, so to speak. It just speaks to, I think, the potential of that space. So
yeah, totally.
It's interesting. Yeah.
So I wanted to connect some things you said before we start to get to the end of this. We were talking earlier about like putting in the work. That like you have to do that, and you can make it a significant part of your day. That can make it a significant part of the impact on your business, on your life, whatever. And then you said moving forward in the future, AI is going to be the biggest like shift or change or trend. Totally agree. I feel like because I use AI for a lot of this stuff, and without AI, I don't know if I could do it or would do it, but without me, I don't think the AI would do it or could do it, right? And so I think at the same time that it's enabled me to go down this path, which it enables me to do a lot more with just having the vision. My friend here in Chicago, Jared Gibson, one of the founders of Outworks, who hopefully will be on the interview. This is actually the guy that you and him like met years ago that I keep trying to make you both remember. Him and I were talking. He plays in a similar space as you, focuses like really primarily on LinkedIn content creation. We were talking about his company, his business, how they go about growing and getting new clients. And we're talking about the ICP, and it came down to there needs to be a philosophy that if you're going to go into making content, it's not let me just see how it works and then find out and then decide if I'm going to do it. It's a commitment to, this is what we discussed and kind of had this both aha moment. It's a lifestyle. It's a commitment. It's a commitment to a lifestyle. You, by doing this, by broadcasting a message and trying to build an audience, you are committing to doing this in perpetuity, right? It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's very much, it's not something that you can half-ass. It's just not. It's like,
you got a whole asset.
You got a whole asset. And you could obviously just, if you feel creative one day and you want to just throw something out that you can, like, sure. And sometimes those things do really well. Sometimes it's your best performing video ever. But the point is, if you want to see any sort of return on these platforms, your mindset has to be, this is a long-term play. This is a, there's really no ceiling, but in terms of when people ask me, when I'm in conversations about like the ROI, and like, I give them my response, which it sounds very philosophical, but it's like, the ROI is that you are in these people's like minds and hearts and so much at some point that they're if you think about the customer flywheel, they're that loyal customer where they're telling other people about your product and service. They're even buying it for other people. Like, it's so crazy to me when I talk to people who are, whatever industry they're in, that their marketing person is just super skeptical, and it's always rooted in ROI. And they're not getting that. And they're like, well, if we're paying someone, $5,000 a month to help us do this and be super active or whatever it is, like, and we're not seeing a return for a year or 2 years or whatever, like, what's the point? And it's like, then don't do it. Like, I don't want you, like, if you think that that's a waste of money, that I'm not here to change your mind. Like, don't do it. Like, it's fine. But if you believe in it and you believe in what I'm telling you, that if you just commit and you really, really treat it as a job, or you value the person you've hired and, let them do their thing or whatever, obviously within reason, like, you will absolutely grow and benefit from it more than you realize. Like, we have clients that we've worked with, and, it's a lot of expectation setting, but it's like, there are times where I think they will get attached to the engagement, and they're like, well, views are down and likes are down, and, the follower growth hasn't really moved a lot. And we're sitting there and we're saying, okay, but we've been active. We've gotten in front of the people that we want to. The people that we want to get in front of based on our previous conversations, like, they're not the majority of people out there. They're a niche person with a specific skill set. And if you really look at it, you've gotten way, way beyond your ROI because you've gotten clients or business from that. And it's funny because it almost flips to where they didn't think that the social thing was like the best move, but they understood, okay, we got to do it. We have to do it. And then they get so attached to the engagement and views that you're like, hey, remember, this isn't about that. It's not about that. And you said that it's not about that initially. And this is why our whole strategy is not about, of course, we want views and engagement. But what we really want is, if a video has 10 views and it gets in front of the right person, that could make all the difference. Even for myself as a creator, there's concepts or videos that were uncomfortable for me that I was like, I just need to do this because I just need to get my personality out there more. I need to do something else. Post it. It, by all definitions, flops. And I can tell you, there's been more times than I can count on my freaking fingers that even those videos that flop, there's been like one person like a celebrity or like my favorite basketball player, like, or whatever, that has seen the video and liked it, or like DM'd me and been like, yeah, that was hilarious. And it just like revalidates that it doesn't matter if it does super well by your standard. Like, as long as it's doing something for you, it's a positive and it's a win, especially with people that are like trying to educate or sell a service or a skill set. It's like, don't think about it as like every video needs to be super high performance. Like, think about it as, if I commit now and my videos are shit for 6 months, like, but then they do well later, or one video does well, all these videos are going to start repopulating, and then they're going to, people are going to see those. And at a minimum, if you don't have some sort of viral video or whatever, you could still say, hey, in a conversation, like, I don't need it. Like, I don't want to tell you any more about this. Why don't you just check out my Instagram? I talk about this stuff all the time. It's like this additional selling point that you don't need to do anything because you've done the work and posted it. And it's like that. It's just there. It's just this library of like insight from you that people can take and freaking, they'll make the decision.
It all goes back to something we talked about. Man, I think we posted it a couple months ago now, and we posted it for a reason. Like the why is everything, right? Like, why are you doing this? It's not because of A, B, C, D, or E. It's because of F. But in order to get to F, you're going to have to get A, B, C, D, E. And then, right, the likes or the impressions are A, and keep going down the line. Yeah. Like, the Y is category F. But so don't get distracted by categories A through E, because it's just noise. It's good noise because it's what gets people down this funnel, right?
Yeah. And the game is not like, the game should not be like, why are we not building or growing? It's just like, just get in front of the people that you want to get in front of and do that regularly. And like, you will, if you do that over time, you will see an ROI that like is net positive without question. Yeah. It's always the people or companies that give up on it, or they're sporadic in how much they focus on it, that they don't believe in it because they quit too early.
Totally.
And it's like, that's fine. Then just don't do it at all. Like, don't do it at all. I'd rather work with someone who's like, no, I get it. I get that. Like, people say, I get that I don't get it. Like, I understand that, like, I just need to do it, and like, just please help me. And like, I'm committed to doing it. Those are the people I want to fucking work with, because I know that they believe in the power of just being out there versus just like okay, but how is this going to make me money? Like, those people don't win on social, or if they do, like, it's very short lived, and
totally
doesn't matter. So
yeah, heck yeah. Awesome. This has been super cool. I want to give you a huge thank you for being on episode 1. Right, a lot of the stuff we've talked about today is like, goes into what we're doing right now. And what we're doing right now is, for me, is a big vision and a big mission I have to go down. And there's a lot more to come here on this podcast, and a lot more great conversations with fun people. We'll have Jack on probably regularly, because he's great. He's awesome. So huge thank you to Jack. Before I do my super outro, is there anything you would like to say for peacing out?
I mean, I just appreciate you having me on here. I'm excited for doing this. True Experts is about to be the biggest name in the podcasting and content world. But seriously, this is awesome, and I feel like breaking that wall down, for a lot of people where they don't maybe get to access like founders or C-level people often. Like, I'm really excited at your next episodes that are coming out to for myself as a business person. Like, I want to know what, a C-level marketer at another company is doing in their space. And I'm just really excited about it because I know that the people that you're going to bring on are going to be
Heck yeah.
very, very insightful. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jack. And thanks everybody for listening. As you all know, this is episode 1. So thanks for listening up to this point. I hope you tune in for another one. And as always, if you ever got a question about marketing, let me know. So thanks for tuning in to True Experts. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Until next time.
All right.
See ya.
Thanks, Jess.